Hello again. Different day, different place. I wanted to address Alcestis by Euripedes in greater depth and length, keeping in mind that Aristotle in his Poetics talked about what would be the correct length of a drama. He says it should be taken in by the memory of the spectators. The correct length is something that can be taken in by the memory, and my memory is kind of short. So I've broken Alcestis down into about 16 sections based on the arrival and the exit of characters on stage. And the first section is about a page long, the very first page. And let me just read a little bit to you. And what I will do is break in with some commentary from time to time as the mood strikes me. Alcestis, before Admetus' palace in Phere, enter Apollo. Halls of Admetus, wherein I steeled my heart to be content with a servant's board, god though I was. Zeus was to blame. He slew my son Asclepius, piercing his bosom with a thunderbolt, whereat I was enraged and smote his Cyclops, the forgers of the heavenly fire. So my sire, in recompense for this, forced me to become a slave in a mortal's home. Now there's an interesting scenario already. Here's a god reduced to slavery, as we will soon see, in a mortal's home. Wow. That is an astonishing juxtaposition of divinity and mortality. Then I came to this land and kept a stranger's flocks, and to this day have been the savior of this house. For in Phere's son I found a man as holy as myself. I remember that. And him I saved from death by cheating destiny, for they, destiny, promised me, those goddesses of fate, that Admetus should escape the impending doom if he found a substitute for the powers below to enjoy. So he went through all his list of friends, made trial of each, his father and the aged mother that bare him, but none he found, save his wife alone, that was willing to die for him and forego the light of life. She now within the house is upheld in his arms, gasping out her life, for today is she doomed to die and pass from life to death. Enter death. But I, for fear pollution overtake me in the house, am leaving the shelter of this roof I love so well. For already I see death hard by, the priest of souls departed, who is on his way to lead her to the halls of Hades. True to time he comes, watching this day that he calls her to her doom. Death speaks. Ha! What dost thou at this house? Why is thou ranging here, Phoebus? Once again thou wrongest me, circumscribing and limiting the honors of the nether world. Wert thou not content to hinder the path of Admetus by thy knavish cunning balking destiny? But now again hast thou armed thee with thy bow, and art keeping guard o'er her, this daughter of Peleus, who undertook of her free will to die for her lord and set him free. And then they continue an argument. But here I would take the liberty of just ruminating. I will use a pretext, the roof I love so well. So here we have love injected into this quite dramatic scene. But we also have death, love and death. And upon reading this and the rest of the play, I recalled Grandpa Freud and his Thanatos and Eros. Thanatos, death, Eros, love. Not life, love. And so I made up a little parable that mystified some yesterday. Death was content with chaos before there was order in the cosmos, or even a cosmos. And then one day, life came, and the order, such as it was set into disorder by this thing, this upstart, life. And death was outraged and began to employ any and all power to overcome this upstart, this intruder. And here we are in Alcestis. Here we are today with death trying to quench life and love. I just revel in that imagination. Life is also a place of light. What did she say? Forgo the light of life. No one was willing to forgo the light of life. And so we have here what I think is a reference to the very beginning of my experience in life as a child, as a babe in arms. One of the things I would have noted quite clearly would have been the difference between darkness and light. As a child, many children are afraid of the dark, right? And then later in life, I came to realize, well, yeah, that was partly true, but if we didn't have dark nights, we wouldn't have bright stars. So there's a great benefit to darkness in the physical realm. Now, can we apply that to our mental and psychological and emotional life? It's worth trying. It's worth trying to do. Oh yes. Now to drop back just a moment, just as death entered, Apollo, a god, said, I fear for pollution to overtake me. The gods themselves intensely disliked, as we'll see in moments ahead, intensely disliked the rules and the customs and the purview that death had. So in order to escape pollution, he's going to leave the house. And of course, in the process of burying the dead, among other events of life, uh, ritual purification was required. And purification is an interesting idea. What is pure? Who came up with the idea that there was anything that was pure, something that was pure? I haven't fathomed that yet, but there's something um, repulsive about anything that has any animal, let's say, that's dead. Plants, not so much. We're not too worried about those. But to see a carcass, a cadaver, um, is frightening, is disturbing at the very least. Um, but to return to the text, Apollo speaks next. Never fear, I have, to be sure, justice and fair plea to urge. I'm going to convince you with arguments, Death, that this new situation is acceptable. Death says, well, what has that bow to do if thou hast justice on thy side? 'Tis my habit ever to carry it. Death, aye, and to help this house more than is right. More than is right. Apollo, the reason is I cannot bear a friend's distress. I cannot hear the sympathy of God for a mortal. I cannot bear a friend's distress. Death, wilt rob me of this second corpse likewise? Come, I did not take the other from thee by violence. Then how is it he lives above the earth and not beneath? He gave his wife instead. So they quarrel over the rightfulness of the death of Admetus, and now Apollo surprises him. Well, here's a substitute that should be honored by you, her whom now thou art come to fetch. Yea, and I will bear her hence to the nether world, bear her hence. I'm going to cart her body off. I think it is both somewhat sexist, but also cruel toward mortals. I'm just going to bear her off. And so Apollo says, take her and go. Take her and go. For I do not suppose I can persuade thee to leave her as she was. Death cutely says, to slay my rightful victim? Why, that is my appointed task. Apollo, nay, but to lay thy deadly hand on those who soon would die. Your job is not to kill people. You've misstated your task. You're just here to take away those who soon would die. Death, I see thy drift, thy eager plea. Apollo, is it then possible that Alcestis should attain old age? Possible? It is not possible. I too, methinks, find a pleasure in my rights, just as you, Apollo, find pleasure in your rights. Not possible for her to attain old age in the pleasant complexion of things. Apollo, thou canst not anyhow take more than one life. Now, there's an interesting law. The god speaks. Thou canst not take anyhow more than one. Death leads us in another direction. When young lives die, I reap a higher honor. And so implying that the wife is going to be, is younger and would be a higher honor to him. Apollo says, well, should she die old, he's cleverly arguing, a sumptuous funeral will she have, honoring you. Phoebus, the law thou layest down is all in favor of the rich. Oh no. One of the great themes of the ancient world, one of the great considerations was the role of wealth. Is wealth to be sought, or is wealth to be just kind of surreptitiously stumbled upon? Apollo, what meanest thou? Art so wise that I never knew it? Death says, well, those who have wealth would buy, and gladly, would buy the chance of their dying old. To round out his argument that this is in favor of the rich. Apollo, it seems to me that thou wilt not grant me this favor. Not I, Death says. My customs well thou knowest. Custom is a whole idea to be explored perhaps later. Apollo, that I do. Customs men detest and even gods abhor. Now here's the god Death, and we see him being abhorred, absolutely abhorred. Oh, why didn't they do something about it? Death, thou canst not realize every lawless wish. So he's really saying that Apollo is thinking lawlessly. Apollo, mark me, thou shalt have a check for all thy excessive fierceness. You're going to be held back. Such a hero shall there come to Pharis hall by Eurystheus, sent to fetch a team of steeds from the wintry world of Thessaly. Thrace, rather. He, a guest awhile in these halls of Admetus, will wrest this woman from thee by sheer force. A prophecy. So wilt thou get no thanks from me, but yet will do all this the same, and earn my hatred to Death. And Apollo exits here, leaving Death on stage. Thou wilt not gain thy purpose any the more for all the many words. That woman shall to Hades' halls go down, I tell thee. Lo, I'm going for her, that with the sword I may bring my rights, R-I-T-E-S, for he whose hair this sword doth hallow is sacred to the gods below.